What Sonia's live stream really taught us about fame. My lovely viewers, let me ask you something. Have you ever set a boundary and watched people completely ignore it? Maybe you told your family to stop asking about your relationship status at dinner, or requested your coworkers not discuss your personal life at the water cooler. How'd that work out for you? Now multiply that frustration by several million people, at cameras, internet forums, and an entire industry built on speculation. Welcome to Sonia's world. During a recent live stream, she did something that felt both brave and necessary. She asked her fans directly, clearly, and without ambiguity to stop shipping her with men, stop pairing her romantically with anyone, and redirect their energy toward what actually matters: her craft, her performances, the stories she brings to life on screen. The request was reasonable. Professional, even. And yet, if you understand how celebrity culture actually operates, you know exactly what happened next. Absolutely nothing changed. But here's the twist: that doesn't mean she was wrong to try. Sonia's statement wasn't an emotional outburst or a moment of weakness caught on camera. It was intentional, strategic, and deeply self-aware. She identified a problem that was draining her energy and attempted to recalibrate the conversation around her public persona. In any other professional context, this would be celebrated as leadership. A CEO clarifying company direction. An artist protecting their creative vision. But celebrity doesn't operate like other professions, and that's where the tension lives. The entertainment industry doesn't run on ideals or professionalism alone, it runs on attention, emotion, perception, and most crucially, conversation. The moment someone steps into public life, privacy transforms from an absolute right into a negotiated asset. Fame is a package deal that includes talent recognition, financial opportunity, platform expansion, and yes, unsolicited opinions, wild assumptions, relentless projections, and narratives spinning completely beyond your control. You don't get to cherry-pick the parts you like while rejecting the rest. The contract is unwritten, but it's binding nonetheless. Setting boundaries is important, and Sonia demonstrated brand consciousness by doing so. Boundaries clarify your position, communicate your values, and signal what you're willing to engage with. But here's the hard truth that every public figure eventually learns: boundaries don't guarantee compliance, especially not from millions of strangers who feel emotionally invested in your story. Fans ship celebrities not because they are malicious or fundamentally disrespectful, but because they are emotionally invested. They've spent hours watching your films, following your journey, celebrating your wins, and processing your characters' love stories as if they were real. When people ship you with someone, it's often a twisted compliment. Nobody speculates about invisible people. Obsession, projection, and invasive curiosity usually follow success and visibility, not failure. If people stopped caring entirely, that would actually be the bigger professional problem. The challenge isn't eliminating interest, it's managing how that interest manifests while protecting your sanity in the process. The brutal reality Sonia is confronting is this: you cannot fight gossip head-on and win. Gossip is hydra-headed, cut off one rumor and 3 more sprout in its place. The only viable strategy is to outgrow it, to become so undeniably dominant in your craft that the noise becomes background static to your symphonic career. The most effective response to speculation isn't emotional engagement or public confrontation, it's relentless excellence. Output, consistency, quality work, and strategic long-term positioning are the only tools any celebrity truly controls. Everything else is theater. When you respond directly to rumors, you often legitimize them, giving them oxygen and renewed circulation. Silence paired with sustained excellence, on the other hand, starves unwanted narratives more effectively than any statement ever could. The strongest players in this industry don't react to every provocation or defend themselves against every whisper. They move with long-term intent, letting their work speak volumes while rumors eventually exhaust themselves searching for fuel. There's also a cultural dimension that can't be ignored. The pressure around marriage, particularly for women in the public eye, reflects deep societal conditioning about timelines, worth, and life milestones. Fans project relationship expectations onto Sonia not because she's failed in some way, but because the culture they are swimming in tells them that romantic partnership is the ultimate validation of a woman's life story. These projections aren't really about her, they're about the values and anxieties of the audience itself. People speak from their level of understanding, not from your level of clarity. That's not condescending, it's just descriptive of how perception works. Even the most celebrated global actors, the ones with decades of acclaimed work and untouchable legacies, still face invasive questions about their personal lives. Excellence doesn't buy invisibility or immunity from curiosity. If anything, it intensifies scrutiny because people become even more invested in understanding the full picture of someone they admire. Sonia's frustration is completely valid and rooted in fatigue, not weakness. There's a difference between emotional truth and smart industry strategy, and they don't always align. What feels right to say in a moment of exhaustion isn't always what serves your long-term positioning. Emotional detachment becomes a survival skill in public life, not because feelings don't matter, but because reacting emotionally to every invasion or misrepresentation would drain you completely. The strongest figures in entertainment have learned to create distance between their private emotional landscape and their public responses. They understand that ignoring certain narratives isn't weakness or avoidance, it's leverage. When you refuse to give energy to a story, you starve it of the controversy and engagement that keeps it alive. Authority in this space is demonstrated through action and sustained excellence, not through arguments or explanations that only feed the cycle. Here's another uncomfortable truth: the industry itself fuels this problem. Entertainment aggressively sells fantasy, chemistry, and romantic storytelling on screen, then acts surprised when audiences extend those narratives off screen. Promotional tours pair actors together, interviews tease chemistry, marketing departments engineer buzz around potential relationships because it drives ticket sales and engagement. You can't have it both ways, selling the dream during work hours and demanding strict separation after. The machine is designed to blur those lines because blurred lines are profitable. Sonia and every actor in her position are caught in a system that benefits from speculation while simultaneously exhausting the people at its center. Mystery and limited access actually reduce obsession more effectively than over-explanation. When fans feel too disconnected, they often get louder, creating theories and narratives to fill the void. But when you maintain strategic distance while consistently delivering quality work, that work becomes the conversation. Redirection works infinitely better than resistance. Instead of telling fans what not to focus on, give them something better to focus on. Release compelling content, tease exciting projects, share insights into your creative process, offer glimpses into the parts of your life you're comfortable sharing. When you fill the space with substance, there's less room for speculation to take root. This doesn't mean performing your entire life for public consumption, it means being strategic about what you feed the attention economy. People will talk regardless, the question is whether you're steering the conversation toward your strengths or letting it drift into territory that depletes you. Eliminating gossip entirely is impossible and probably not even desirable from a career visibility standpoint. The real goal is making gossip irrelevant compared to the weight and quality of your actual work. When your craft dominates the conversation, speculation becomes a footnote rather than the headline. Sonia doesn't owe anyone marriage timelines, relationship explanations, or emotional labor beyond what she chooses to give. Her only professional obligation is delivering quality performances and honoring her work commitments. Everything else is noise, and she gets to decide how much of it to engage. The temptation when you're tired and frustrated is to confront the noise directly, to explain yourself, to set the record straight. But attention is leverage, and chasing narratives hands that leverage away. Every minute spent managing rumors is a minute not spent on work that actually builds your legacy. Longevity in this industry comes from understanding the system's mechanics without letting the system control you. You learn which battles matter and which ones only drain your resources while changing nothing substantial. Noise doesn't determine success. Discipline, consistency, quality output, and strategic positioning do. Those are the metrics that matter when the dust settles. What makes Sonia's situation particularly interesting is that her power doesn't ultimately rest in public approval or fan compliance with her boundaries. Her power lies in self-awareness, alignment with her values, and the ability to keep executing at a high level regardless of external chatter. As long as she keeps delivering performances that resonate, narratives will eventually bend in her favor not because she forced them to, but because excellence has gravitational pull. The goal isn't achieving silence from the public. That's impossible and maybe even undesirable from a relevant standpoint. The goal is maintaining control over your own trajectory, your choices, your creative direction, and your peace of mind while the circus continues around you. Some of the most powerful figures in entertainment learned to let the gossip exist in a separate universe from their actual lives and work, neither feeding it nor being controlled by it. There's also something to be said about the difference between fighting the current and learning to navigate it. Celebrity culture is an ocean, not a puddle. You can exhaust yourself trying to change its tide, or you can become an expert swimmer who knows when to paddle hard, when to float, and when to dive beneath the surface entirely. Sonia's livestream moment was important self-advocacy, and speaking your truth has value even when it doesn't immediately change behavior. Sometimes you set boundaries not because you expect perfect compliance, but because you need to hear yourself say what you stand for. That act of self-definition matters for internal clarity even if external results are mixed. The question moving forward isn't whether people will stop shipping her or speculating they won't, but whether she can build such undeniable career momentum that those conversations feel small compared to her actual achievements. The industry rewards people who understand that public perception is only one variable in a much larger equation. Yes, image matters. Yes, narratives shape opportunities to some extent. But consistently excellent work creates its own narrative that eventually drowns out the noise. Think about the actors whose careers have spanned decades. They all faced invasive questions, bizarre rumors, and exhausting speculation at various points. What separated those who thrived from those who burned out wasn't the absence of gossip, but the ability to keep working at a high level while gossip swirled. They treated public attention like weather, sometimes pleasant, sometimes stormy, but ultimately something happening around their core mission rather than defining it. They protected their energy not by eliminating all intrusions, but by developing filters that let important feedback through while deflecting the rest. Sonia is already winning in the ways that actually matter. She's aware of her value, conscious of her brand, committed to her craft, and willing to advocate for herself even when it's uncomfortable. Those qualities build careers that last. The shipping, the speculation, the invasive questions, those are all symptoms of visibility and success, not indicators of failure. They are annoying, yes. Draining, absolutely. But they also prove that people care enough to invest mental and emotional energy in her story. The challenge is transforming that energy from something that depletes her into something that simply exists in the background while she focuses on work that fulfills her. Every project she nails, every performance that resonates, every strategic career choice that positions her for longevity, these are votes in her favor that accumulate over time, gradually shifting how she's perceived and discussed. The conversation around Sonia's livestream itself demonstrates this dynamic perfectly. People are talking about her boundary setting, debating celebrity culture, discussing privacy and fame, all of which keeps her name in circulation and her perspective part of the cultural conversation. Even attempts to redirect attention become attention themselves. That's the paradox of modern celebrity. Everything feeds the machine, even resistance to the machine. The trick is using that reality strategically rather than being used by it. Feed the machine content that serves your goals, project announcements, creative insights, curated glimpses into your process. Starve it of the content that drains you by simply not providing fuel for those fires. It sounds simple but requires tremendous discipline because the temptation to respond, explain, and defend is enormous when you're being misrepresented or invaded. Ultimately, this isn't just Sonia's story, it's the story of anyone trying to navigate public life with authenticity while protecting their humanity. The tension between personal boundaries and public access is built into the celebrity structure, and there's no perfect solution. What works is developing a strong enough sense of self that external noise can't shake your foundation, building a body of work so compelling that it speaks louder than gossip, and maintaining the discipline to keep choosing long-term vision over short-term emotional reactions. Sonia's already doing this. The live stream was a moment of honest communication, and moments like that have value even when they don't immediately solve the problem. They remind everyone, including herself, what she stands for and where her priorities lie. So here's my question for you ***. How are you managing the boundaries in your own life, even if you're not famous? Where are you giving away energy to narratives you can't control instead of investing it in work that actually builds your future? Sonia's navigating this on a massive scale, but the principle applies everywhere. You can't control what people say or assume about you, but you can control where you put your focus and how you measure success. Let me know in the comments what boundaries you're working on setting, and if this perspective on celebrity culture shifted how you think about fame, attention, and the cost of visibility. And if you found this breakdown valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear that excellence is always the best response to noise. Let's keep this conversation going.